Okay. Oh, look at you. Okay. You're the first one, so it's very exciting. All right. Hi, welcome to Shaken, Not Stirred. I'm Christy Mazelman, and I'm the Executive Director of CulturalDC, and I'd like to welcome my first guest, Philippa Hughes.
Hi.
Hi, Philippa. How are you doing?
All right. I'm having a longboard beer to remind me of days when we can go surfing, go to the beach again. Any little helps.
I know. It's nice that the sun's shining, so that's good.
I know. It's so nice.
So these are going to be little informal, fun interviews. And so I'm going to just get right at it. And I want you to talk to me a little bit about your current, I'll call it your current project. I'm sure it's probably slightly on hold in some form, but what it means to be an American.
Yeah, well, so yes, it's very much on hold because the whole idea is to bring people together in face-to-face conversation so that we can humanize each other and have like deeper, more meaningful conversations. I shouldn't say it's totally on hold. So we're actually going to experiment just like everybody else is with Zoom conversations. And I've done it a little bit already, and I still deeply believe that we have to be in the same room. We have to be eye to eye, but this is what we got now. Like we got to, adapt, and we have to keep these conversations going. So this is what we're going to do for now. But I deeply believe in like face-to-face conversations, real live ones.
What do you think it means to be an American artist right now, given what we're going through?
Oh, that's a good question. This is so tough. Like, I was talking to a good friend who's an artist the other day, and he's like one of the most productive people I've ever met. Halim Flowers. Like when he was imprisoned for 22 years, he like published all these books and started a media company. Like he's just one of the most, and he's producing so much right now. Yeah. And so I was like, I just can't keep up with you. I feel like such a bad person because but everybody just needs to do what works for them. Like there is no level of productivity I think that we should be required to do. I mean, obviously there's nothing we're required to do, but also the requirements we put on ourselves. Like, come on, this is a scary time.
It is. Yeah, I'm trying to be super productive, but I'm also a homeschool teacher these days. And not only am I a homeschool teacher, I'm a Spanish homeschool teacher.
Do you speak Spanish?
No hablo español.
You're going to speak Spanish by the time this is over.
I don't know. Cool. Luckily, my husband speaks Spanish, so we have that going on. But yes, the productivity challenges are kind of real, and there's certainly a lot of pressure to get a lot done. And I think you have to just, I don't know, small wins. That's what I think. It's like I got a PPP application in today.
Good job.
So that was my big win for the day. So one day at a time, right?
That's one day at a time. And you know what? Honestly, it's gonna get worse. Like it was kind of fun for a couple of weeks in a way. Like, oh, we're Zooming and whatever, but it's just gonna get harder. So we need to pace ourselves.
I know, and this is our reality for the foreseeable future, I think. So
yeah.
I think what's interesting and what we haven't seen a lot of is politics. Obviously, there's a lot of politics going on around what's happening, but our normal political cycle seems to have like taken a back burner. But talk to me a little bit about the intersection of art and politics and where that's going.
That's so funny because the other day I was like, oh, wait, we're in the middle of primary season. Like, I don't, like this whole thing where like, I don't know what day it is. I forgot that we're like supposed to be nominating a candidate for our party right now.
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we might not even have a DNC convention. So who knows? Yeah. But sorry, back to your actual question.
Oh, right. There was a question. Even I forgot. It's so easy to go down the rabbit hole.
It really is. I don't want to put pressure on people, but I do believe that if ever there was a time for art and politics to merge and to like really send messages, this would be it.
Right.
My boyfriend works for this organization called the Economic Security Project, and he was very involved in helping shape the stimulus package. And so for 3 weeks, all I heard was him screaming at the, laptop and the phone. And but one of the things that they did was they got this organization, I can't remember what it's called right now, but they basically have artists making political work and making posters out of them and then distributing them. And so they did a whole series of posters around getting more cash into people's pockets. Wow. And some of them were just so great. And I just love these visualizations of this very simple message: more money in people's pockets right now and until this is over. So I do think that those ways in which artists can, intersect with politics and to really amplify important messages, we got to get on it.
Yeah. I think everybody is really familiar with a lot of your work and your creative placemaking work. Let's talk about kind of the artists that you like to work with and the ones that, what you're looking for when you're looking to collaborate.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Well, I was just actually doing planks and the New York Times 7-minute workout with Holly Bass. She's one of my all-time favorite, well, not just artists, but people. And I think she really, she exemplifies the kind of person that I want to work with all the time. She's incredibly generous. She's so generous. She just gives so much of her brain and her creativity, but she's also a genius. And what makes her really super genius-like is that she can draw from so many different, subject matter. She's not just a poet, or she's not just a dancer, but she's a writer. She just is a super nerd and has so many different kinds of knowledge bases that she can draw on to make art. Yeah, that's the kind of artist I think is just the best kind. Not, I tend to shy away from somebody who's just very narrowly focused.
Sure. Have you found those kind of artists as you've been traveling around the country? How has that been in terms of obviously in DC, who the people are here, the community here, but how has that worked as you've been traveling, trying to find those artists in those different cities and communities?
That is such a great question because, here I am helicoptering into another city and be like, hey, I'm from DC and I'm here to help, And so I've been, it's really a fine line, right? We don't want to be, I'm very sensitive to being an outsider. And so in every place, I always work with a co-curate with a local person. And I will say that I do think one of my superpowers is networking. And so, if I know one person and, every city we've gone to, I've known one person, and I just start networking really deep until I find a person that resembles a Holly Bass in each place. And I always have found somebody who can be that person for me.
Yeah. What have you found? I think it's so fascinating when you leave DC, because people have such an interesting perception of DC and people that live here. And I think it's always, and I feel like you're probably in communities where that is very much happening. I don't feel like it happens when you go to New York City or Los Angeles, but when you get into these small communities, they have a very specific kind of, thought around what DC is. And I always think it's fascinating because I feel like we don't really have local news here. And you get into some of those communities and what is their local news versus our local news. And I think it's just, I'm curious of kind of what their perception is, especially right now.
Oh my gosh. Well, it is so interesting because, you and I know that there's Washington and then there's DC. And we, we live in DC. We live in neighborhoods with regular normal people, you know what I mean.
I got it.
But most people in the country think of our city as Washington, as these terrible people who don't get anything done, Congress, and I kind of don't blame them. I mean, they don't see us. They see, that's their vision. And so that is very frustrating. So sometimes I have to, I feel like I'm sheepish about saying, oh, I'm from DC, but oh, no, I'm from like the real part of DC,
Right.
you know?
Right.
Yeah. So no, that's a great question, because the perception of Washington, DC is very, very negative, like very bad. And so I'm like,
administration driven, or that's just in general because of politics?
no, it's politics. It's like, I think it's like across the board. Nobody, you know, Congress has a lower rating than the president even, you know, like, no, that's politics. That's the inability of Congress to get anything done. And people see that. Anyway,
I think
that's a
it's
whole
crazy that
other
people probably take it for granted that they have the ability to get away from it. Like, whereas I don't feel like we can ever get away from it. Like,
No.
literally, and you know, just like in every sense. It's like on every TV, everywhere here. Even driving down the street with the motorcades, and it's like you can't escape it.
You're so right. And also, like, even just, you can't even just go to happy hour and not talk about it. Like, even no matter how much you try, like, it's always going to come back to that.
Right. So you're going to work on some Zoom stuff for this project. And then ultimately the project was supposed to culminate, right, in the fall with some kind of something?
Yeah, it's evolved since last time we talked. It's a constantly evolving process. But yeah, no, I mean, the idea is for there to be some grand sort of bringing it all back together. And in fact, I'm talking to Rachel from the Walter Reed.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, because that could be a great culminating place. Anyway, so we'll have to get back to that, actually.
Yeah.
Call
I'm
me.
here. Yeah. Or Zoom me, yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, we are very excited to see how that goes, and we'll kind of look out for that. But thank you for joining me today on Shaken, Not Stirred.
Great chatting.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Well, good. Whew, that was good.
That was good.
Good.
That was really good.